Hey, Hare Krishna, Mike. Can you hear me?
Hey, Hare Krishna. Yep. How are you today?
Yeah, I was just reading the story of the passing of Haridas Thakur today. That's a pretty intense story because Haridas was, of course, the acharya of the chanting of the holy name, and Lord Chaitanya cared about him so much that he couldn't really refuse his request to die. He wanted to pass from this material world before Lord Chaitanya did. He couldn't bear the thought of being in the world while Lord Chaitanya was here. And so he allowed him to pass. And he did so just like Bhishma. You know the story of Bhishma, he could pass at will. He was like a Mahayogi, great yogi. And so he just wanted to, look at Lord Chaitanya's face and grab his feet and take the dust from all the other Vaishnavas and say, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and just look at his face. And he passed in this world from the world in that way, even though his body wasn't sick. And so Lord Chaitanya was so personally involved with that whole thing. He actually dug a pit in the sand near in the Bay of Bengal, in Jagannath Puri, and he placed his body in it. He covered it with his own hands. He covered his body with sand. Afterwards, first he danced with his body on his lap, with the body of Haridas Thakur, and he had a big Sankirtan festival, and he spread his own cloth to all the merchants outside Jagannath Puri so that he could collect some prasadam for the devotees to have a big celebration of Haridas Thakur. It just shows that and he bathed his body in the sea before he put him in the Samadhi tomb or whatever it is, and he said, now this whole Indian Ocean is sanctified. So everybody drank a little from the Indian Ocean at that point, but it just shows Lord Chaitanya's deep attachment to his devotees, and how Haridas was so powerful that Lord Chaitanya couldn't. I mean, at another time, Sanatana Goswami wanted to kill himself before the temple, before the Rath Yatra car. He wanted to throw himself under the Rath Yatra car for kind of the same reason that Haridas did, because he was born in a Muslim family and, all this stuff, and his body was giving him trouble because of the sores in his body. And he said, my body's useless for service. But he said, no, this is not your body. You don't have the right to give it away to anybody. It's my body. You already dedicated your life to me, so you can't just do that. But it's different in the case of Haridas Thakur, because the mentality was different. But that was an interesting chapter. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can try to share a screen here.
Yeah,
I think we're on 13, correct?
413.
This computer is really slow. Okay, go ahead and read text 13.
Chatur varnyam mayas shristam guna karma vibhagasha tasya kartaram apimam idi kartaram avyayam. Synonyms. Chatur varnyam, four divisions of human society. Maya, by me. Shrishtam, created. Guna, of quality. Karma, and work. Vibhagasha, in terms of division. Tasya, of that. Karataram, the father. Api, although. Mam, me. Vidhi, you may know. Kartaram, as the non-doer. Avyayam, unchangeable. Translation. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable.
Okay, I'll read the purport. The Lord is the creator of everything. Everything is born of him. Everything is sustained by him. And everything after annihilation rests in him. He is therefore the creator of the four divisions of the social order, beginning with the intelligent class of men, technically called Brahmanas, due to their being situated in the mode of goodness. Next is the administrative class, technically called the Kshatriyas, due to their being situated in the mode of passion. The mercantile men, called the Vaishyas, are situated in the mixed modes of passion and ignorance, and the Shudras, or labor class, are situated in the ignorant mode of material nature. In spite of his creating the four divisions of human society, Lord Krishna does not belong to any of these divisions because he is not one of the conditioned souls, a section of whom form human society. Human society is similar to any other animal society, but to elevate men from the animal status, the above mentioned divisions are created by the Lord for the systematic development of Krishna consciousness. That's key. He created the Varnashram Dharma institution. So it's not something that's imposed. It's not like the caste system that is mutated out of India. The Lord created this, so it's meant for the systematic development, a progressive development of human society. The tendency of a particular man toward work is determined by the modes of material nature which he has acquired. Such symptoms of life, according to the different modes of material nature, are described in the 18th chapter of this book. A person in Krishna consciousness, however, is above even the Brahmanas. Although Brahmanas by quality are supposed to know about Brahman, the supreme absolute truth, most of them approach only the impersonal Brahman manifestation of Lord Krishna. But a man who transcends the limited knowledge of a Brahmana and reaches the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, becomes a person in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, a Vaishnava. Krishna consciousness includes knowledge of all different plenary expansions of Krishna, namely Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, etc. And as Krishna is transcendental to this system of the four divisions of human society, a person in Krishna consciousness is also transcendental to all divisions of human society, whether we consider the divisions of community, nation, or species. Okay, go ahead and read text 14.
Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spraha iti mam yo bijanati kamabir na sa padyate. Synonyms. Na, never. Mam, me. Karmani, all kinds of work. Limpanti, do effect. Na, nor. Me, my. Karma phale, in fruit of action. Spurha, aspiration. Iti, thus. Mam, me. Ya, one who. Abhijanati, does know. Karmabi, by the reaction of such work. Na, never. Sa, he. Badhyate, becomes entangled. Translation. There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruit of reactions of work.
Go ahead and read the first paragraph.
As there are constitutional laws in the material world stating that a king can do no wrong, or that the king is not subject to state laws, similarly, the Lord, although he is the creator of this material world, is not affected by the activities of the material world. He creates and remains aloof from the creation, whereas The living entities are entangled in the fruitive results of material activities because of their propensity for lording it over material resources. The proprietor of an establishment is not responsible for the right and wrong activities of the workers, but the workers are themselves responsible. The living entities are engaged in their respective activities of sense gratification, and these activities are not ordained by the Lord. For advancement of sense gratification, the living entities are engaged in the work of this world, and they aspire to heavenly happiness after death. The Lord, being full in himself, has no attraction for so-called heavenly happiness. The heavenly demigods are only his engaged servants. The proprietor never desires the low-grade happiness such as the workers may desire. He is aloof from the material actions and reactions. For example, the rains are not responsible for different types of vegetation that appear on the earth, although without such rains there is no possibility of vegetative growth. Vedic Smriti confirms this fact as follows.
I guess I'll write this part. Nimitta matram evaso srijayanam sarga karmani pradana karani bhuta yato vai Śikṣāṣtaka. In the material creations, the Lord is only the supreme cause. The immediate cause is material nature by which the cosmic manifestation is made visible, end quote. I can't understand that. The Lord is only the supreme cause. Oh yeah, he's the supreme cause. The immediate cause is material nature, which is his energy. Okay. The created beings are of many varieties, such as the demigods, human beings, and lower animals, and all of them are subject to the reactions of their past good or bad activities. The Lord only gives them proper facilities for such activities and the regulations of the modes of nature, but he's never responsible for their past and present activities. In the Vedanta Sutra 2134, it is confirmed, Vaishamya Naigrinye na sapek sattvat. The Lord is never partial to any living entity. Living entity is responsible for his own acts. The Lord only gives him facilities through the agency of material nature, the external energy. Anyone who is fully conversant with all the intricacies of the laws of this law of karma or fruitive activities does not become affected by the results of his activities. In other words, the person who understands this transcendental nature of the Lord is an experienced man in Krishna consciousness, and thus he is never subjected to the laws of karma. One who does not know the transcendental nature of the Lord and who thinks that the activities of the Lord are aimed at fruitive activities or fruitive results, as are the activities of ordinary living entities, certainly becomes entangled himself in fruitive reactions. But one who knows the supreme truth is a liberated soul fixed in Krishna consciousness. Go ahead.
Text 15. Evam natva kirtam karmam vair api umukshubhi kuru karmayava tasmatvam purvai purva taram kirtam. Synonyms. Evam, thus, natva, knowing well, kirtam was performed, karma, work, purvai, by past authorities, api, indeed, umukshubhi, to attain liberation, kuru, just perform, karma, prescribed a duty, eva, certainly, tasmat, therefore, tvam, you, purvai, by the predecessors, purvataram, in ancient times, kirtam, as performed. Translation. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty, following in their footsteps.
You can read the purport too.
Purport. There are two classes of men. Some of them are full of polluted material things within their hearts, and some of them are materially free. Krishna consciousness is equally beneficial for both of these persons. Those who are full of dirty things can take to the line of Krishna consciousness for a gradual cleansing process, following the regulative principles of devotional service. Those who are already cleansed of the impurities may continue to act in the same Krishna consciousness so that others may follow their exemplary activities and thereby be benefited. Foolish persons or neophytes in Krishna consciousness often want to retire from activities without having knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Arjuna's desire to retire from the activities on the battlefield was not approved by the Lord. One need only know how to act. To retire from the activities of Krishna consciousness and to sit aloof making a show of Krishna consciousness is less important than actually engaging in the field of activities for the sake of Krishna. Arjuna is here advised to act in Krishna consciousness, following in the footsteps of the Lord's previous disciples, such as the sun god Vivishvan, as mentioned herein before. The Supreme Lord knows all his past activities, as well as those of persons who acted in Krishna consciousness in the past. Therefore, he recommends the acts of the sun god, who learned this art from the Lord some millions of years before. All such students of Lord Krishna are mentioned here as past liberated persons, engaged in the discharge of duties allotted by Krishna.
You know, it just blows my mind sometimes when they they talk about the time scale in Vedic, the Vedic time scale. The sun god learned this millions of years before. That's like this knowledge is so old, and it's been tested throughout so much, through civilizations, the rise and fall of so many civilizations. It's always the truth. It never changes. And it's tested and it's true. Krishna says, many persons have attained the supreme destination by this path. So, everyone should understand the bona fide nature of this process. We're not making it up. It's not something that's some kind of like figment of our imagination. It's not our interpretation. It's actually Krishna himself speaking exactly as he imparted this knowledge to Arjuna. Prabhupada imparted it to us, and we're reading the book exactly as it's being, as it is. So that way, it's that it's bona fide and it's tested and it works. And we can see from our own lives how it's purified our own behavior and helped us give up so many different bad habits and given us all kinds of good qualities in our own lives. Just like it says that one who is Krishna conscious has all the good qualities of the demigods, whereas a person who doesn't follow this path, he has no good qualities, even though he may be engaged in the dutiful upkeep of his family and etc. He has no good qualities because his mind is hovering on the material platform. So we have to come to the transcendental platform and always be on that path and follow Krishna's instructions exactly in every point of our life. And then we'll have good qualities and Krishna will be pleased with us. Text 16. Kim karma kim akarmeti kavayopi atra mohita. Tate karma pravakshyami nadyatva mokshase sabat. Synonyms. Kim, what is karma, action? Kim, what is akarma, inaction? Iti, thus, kavaya, the intelligent, api, also it, atra, in this matter, mohita, are bewildered, ta, that, te, unto you, karma, work, pravikshyami, I shall explain, yet which, yatva, knowledge, or knowing, moksyase, you will be liberated, asubat, from ill fortune. Translation, even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. Go ahead and read the first two paragraphs.
Action in Krishna consciousness has to be executed in accord with the examples of previous bona fide devotees. This is recommended in the 15th verse. Why such actions should not be independent will be explained in the text to follow. To act in Krishna consciousness, one has to follow the leadership of authorized persons who are in a line of disciplic succession as explained in the beginning of this chapter. The system of Krishna consciousness was first narrated to the sun god. The sun god explained it to his son Manu. Manu explained it to his son Ikshvaku. And the system is current on this earth from that very remote time. Therefore, one has to follow in the footsteps of previous authorities in the line of disciplic succession. Otherwise, even the most intelligent men will be bewildered regarding the standard of actions of Krishna consciousness. For this reason, the Lord decided to instruct Arjuna in Krishna consciousness directly. Because of the direct instruction of the Lord to Arjuna, anyone who follows in the footsteps of Arjuna is certainly not bewildered.
It is said that one cannot ascertain the ways of religion simply by imperfect experimental knowledge. Actually, the principles of religion can be laid down, only be laid down by the Lord himself. Dharmantu Sakshat Bhagavat Punitam, Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.19. No one can manufacture a religious principle by imperfect speculation. One must follow in the footsteps of great authorities like Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Manu, the Kumars, Kapila, Prahlad, Bhishma, Shukadeva Goswami, Yamaraj, Janaka, and Bali Maharaj. By mental speculation, one cannot ascertain what is religion or self-realization. Therefore, out of causeless mercy to his devotees, the Lord explains directly to Arjuna what action is and what inaction is. Only action performed in Krishna consciousness can deliver a person from entanglement of material existence. I think this is one of the most important principles in Krishna consciousness, the principle of Mahajano Yena Gadasa Panta, following in the footsteps of the previous authorities. He lists the great Mahajan. The Mahajan is the personalities who know the science of Krishna consciousness. We're in the Brahma Sampradaya, so it's Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Manu, etc. And so these are the personalities where we have to, you can study the Vedas, but there are so many contradictions. So how do you apply that in your life, and what behavior did these people follow in when they did certain things, and how did they see the Vedas in relation to the world? So we have to always follow in the footsteps and rely on it's a very personal process. If you follow in the footsteps of the great authorities, like we're in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So Lord Chaitanya has introduced, actually starting from Madhvacharya, the Madhva Sampradaya, Lord Chaitanya's guru was Ishwarapuri, and Ishwarapuri's guru was Madhavendra Puri, and he was the first one who introduced this idea of conjugal rasa, the mellows of conjugal love for Krishna, and that mellow is not available in any other system. So in order to understand that, you have to get it from the people who are following in that path. You have to get it from their heart. You have to beg from Lord Chaitanya and his followers like Sanatana and Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami. All these Goswamis knew the deep essence of the Lord's desire to manifest these wonderful mellows of Krishna consciousness on the earth, because that's the highest religion. No one has ever offered that before, especially for free. So Lord Chaitanya is the most magnanimous avatar because he is offering what no other avatar has ever offered before. So we have to follow in his line of disciplic succession and beg the holy name from them. And that way we can actually chant Hare Krishna and realize the innermost desire of Lord Chaitanya, which was that his name should be spread to every town and village. And also he wanted the Goswamis, like Rupa Goswami, he wrote all these books explaining the science of how to become a resident of Vrindavan, to follow in the footsteps of the gopis, to become a servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis. And in our spiritual manifestation of the spiritual world, we want to be helping Lord Krishna. And it's in his affairs with the gopis, like it says in the second verse of the Guruvastikam prayers, he helps Lord Krishna meet Radha, assist their rendezvous some way. That's the English version of it. He knows Vrindavan's woods and groves and pastures where the cowards play. So in order to understand the mood of Vrindavan, where everyone is fixed on Krishna, not in awe and reverence, but in just in love, we have to follow in the footsteps of the Brijabasis. And in order to do that, we have to go through Lord Chaitanya, because we can't like barge in on the pastimes of Vrindavan just from our own speculation. We have to follow in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya, and he can elevate us to that position by the process of the Guru Parampara. So I think it's really important. I was thinking about writing a book on that, actually, because that would be totally not based on my own speculation, but following in examples of following in the footsteps of great authorities like that. It's the only safe path, and it's the only easy method of actually coming quickly to the right platform. Go ahead and read 17.
Text 17. Karmana hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmana karmanas cha bodhavyam gahana karmano gati. Synonyms: karmana, of work; he, certainly; api, also; bodhavyam, should be understood; bodhavyam, should be understood; cha, also; vikarmana, of forbidden work; akarmana, of inaction; cha, also; bodhavyam, should be understood; gana, very difficult; karmana, of work; gati, entrance. Translation: the intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is.
Go ahead and read the purport.
If one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand the distinctions between action, inaction, and unauthorized actions. One has to apply oneself to such analysis of action, reaction, and perverted actions because it is a very difficult subject matter. To understand Krishna consciousness and action according to its modes, one has to learn one's relationship with the Supreme, i.e., one who has learned perfectly knows that every living entity is an eternal servitor of the Lord, and that consequently one has to act in Krishna consciousness. The entire Bhagavad-gītā is directed toward this conclusion. Any other conclusions against this consciousness and its attendant actions are vikarmas, or prohibited actions. To understand all this, one has to associate with authorities in Krishna consciousness and learn the secret from them. This is as good as learning from the Lord directly. Otherwise, even the most intelligent persons will be bewildered.
So he's again saying, he's underlining the same, emphasizing the same principle of learning the secret from the authorities of Krishna consciousness. The secret is, the secret of the Bhagavad-gītā, when it's all said and done, is surrender to me. One has to, and it's also, tadvidi paripatena pariprasnena sevya upadikshanti te jnanam jnananas tattvadarshana. Try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. And then the next verse is, just like it says in this purport here, when you've thus learned the truth, you'll know that all living beings are part of me, they're in me, and they're mine. So every living being, just as it says in the purport, every living entity is an eternal servant of the Lord, and that consequently one has to act in Krishna consciousness. So that's the secret, and we have to learn it from authorities. Otherwise, there's always, I think in every single tradition, there's been some controversy, or not controversy, but some bewilderment about the whole idea of, is it works or grace? It's not by works, but by mercy, and people can't really understand that concept of how to advance in Krishna consciousness. Obviously, you have to put forward your own desire and to surrender, and we have to work for Krishna, but we're not the doer, really. Krishna is the only doer. And if we think we're the doer, then we're bewildered. So when we surrender to Krishna, then we can actually understand that Krishna is the doer, and all living entities are surrendering to Krishna in their own way, but they don't really they're not really conscious of it. Krishna's in everyone's heart. But if you're following Krishna's direct will, and it, then you're Krishna conscious. If you're just doing, you're guided by the material energy, then you're not real, and you're not aware of Krishna's personality, his form, his name, his qualities. Then you're really just being led around by the material nature. You're not in control, even though you think you're in control. So Krishna, when we surrender to Krishna, then we'll learn the truth of how to actually live in freedom with, because Krishna is in our heart, he'll tell us what to do. And that's confirmed by externally by the spiritual master, who can guide us through the intricacies of all these different, hard to understand concepts such as action and inaction, forbidden action and inaction. Text 18. Karmaniya karma ya pasyat, akarmani cha karma ya. Sa buddhiman manasyeshu sayukta ksitsna karmakrit. Synonyms. Karmani, inaction, akarma, inaction. Ya, one who pasyat, observes, akarmani, in inaction. Cha, also karma, fruit of action. Ya, one who sahi buddhiman, is intelligent. Manusyeshu, in human society. Sahi yukta, is in the transcendental position. Kritsna karmakrit, although engaged in all activities. Translation. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. That really needs some explanation. So go ahead with the purport.
A person acting in Krishna consciousness is naturally free from the bonds of karma. His activities are all performed for Krishna. Therefore, he does not enjoy or suffer any of the effects of work. Consequently, he is intelligent in human society, even though he's engaged in all sorts of activities for Krishna. Akarma means without reaction to work. The impersonalist ceases fruitive activities out of fear, so that the resultant action may not be a stumbling block on the path of self-realization. But the personalist knows rightly his position as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness. Because everything is done for Krishna, he enjoys only transcendental happiness in the discharge of this service. Those who are engaged in this process are known to be without desire for personal sense gratification. The sense of eternal servitorship to Krishna makes one immune to all sorts of reactionary elements of work. So when the use of action and inaction here and so forth, so essentially, maybe I'm wrong on this, inaction would be any kind of material-based activity, and action would be work done in Krishna consciousness, or
Well,
I don't think he's talking about this.
I don't think he's talking about, the difference between, material and spiritual. He's talking about action and inaction in and of itself. And when you can see action in inaction and action in inaction, the point is, it becomes clear what these activities are, or inactivities, when you surrender to Krishna. He can, when you're free from the bonds of karma, you're called akarma. Akarma means without reaction, because every fruit of activity has its reaction. If you try to do something for your own sense gratification, that's called fruitive work. And when you engage in fruitive work and you think you are the doer, then you are, like, if you want to accumulate some wealth, you due to your pious activities and previously, you may be able to accumulate some wealth, but then you're also going to have to suffer the reaction, whether good or bad. If you do some good, then you'll have to enjoy some good reactions. If you suffer, if you perform some sinful activity, then you'll have to suffer the reaction in the form of material misery. So, but one who is Krishna conscious is not, because he's surrendering to Krishna, he is without good or bad reactions. That's akarma. Akarma means without reaction to work. That's what the purport says.
Hmm.
See, the impersonalist, it says that they cease fruitive activities out of fear. They don't like, they kind of want to commit suicide. They want to cease all activities. And so because they understand that the reaction will be a stumbling block, whether good or bad. But the personalist, he really understands that he is an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna indemnifies all the reactions, whether good or bad. So it's only in that position that you can actually discriminate between what is the proper path, whether, and when you're working for Krishna, you're really not working, but you are working at the same time. I think that's what basically the concept is. We see action and inaction. When you're surrendered to Krishna, you're not the doer. It says that you're supposed to act like you're doing it. It's up to you, but know that it's up to Krishna. Krishna is the doer. If we surrender to him, then he's the one that's actually doing it. Krishna used Arjuna on the battlefield to kill all these soldiers. It wasn't really Arjuna doing it. If Arjuna did it, like if you went out and killed somebody, you could be arrested. But because he was doing it in a war, which was actually a righteous war, it was Krishna who desired it, so that he was indemnified from all kinds of reactions in that activity. And so therefore, Krishna told him, don't worry. Don't think about victory or defeat. Just do your duty for me because I want you to. And when you do that, then Krishna is pleased, and then you're free from all reactions. Krishna says, surrender to me. I'll protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Sacrifice is the method to burn up all our reactions of work. That's why we're in this material world, because of fruitive activities. And we have to stop that fruitive work cycle by surrendering to Krishna. That's the bottom line. And that's what Narada told our Vyasadeva to do. He said, you wrote all these Vedas talking about how you could, advance in human society by, using all these techniques for purifying the soul and fruitive activities, karma kanda. But the ultimate thing is to surrender to Krishna. So that's like the elevator that brings you to the top floor. And, there's so many different ways, but Krishna in the end said, forget about everything I told you, just surrender to me. So that's what I think. Does that kind of answer your question about action and inaction? Because we're not doing anything, we're just surrendering, but you have to act and not act at the same time. Know that it's up to you, or know
that it's all up to Krishna.
Like it's
work like it's all up to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the closest English purport to that particular first sentence there. Action and inaction, action in inaction. It's
so it really is more relating to who's the actual doer.
Right. Yeah.
Actions rather. Yeah.
But we have to try. That's the thing. If we have to try to please Krishna. And if our endeavors are selfless, in other words, if we're not doing it for ourselves, we're our own sense gratification, then we're not entangled in fruitive activities. We won't get a reaction. If we do it for Krishna. But whereas if we're doing something for our own sense gratification, then we want the fruit of our work, and we're not entitled to the fruit of our work because Krishna is the doer. You become entangled in the modes of material nature as soon as you work for yourself, because there is this material world is the world of duality. So people try to get the good without the bad, but it doesn't work that way, because it is the only non-dual thing, the only way you can perform activities without any reaction or akarma is by surrendering to Krishna, who will guide you through and indemnify you of all the reactions, because you're not doing it on your own. That Krishna is the real doer. Because you're surrendered to him, you're not doing anything. Krishna himself is not doing anything, but he's still working to set an example for us. He still does all his duties as a householder or whatever, but he does that just, because he needs to set an example for the rest of human society. If he didn't work, if he didn't do anything, then the world would be put into ruination, he said, because everyone would follow his path, because what great men do, common men follow. So you can't just not do anything. When you're in the modes of material nature and you're not totally surrendered, you have to perform your duty within the varnashram system. Otherwise, it'll be a disaster, because everyone's, whether you're doing nothing or you're doing all kinds of things for yourself, in neither case, it's not a, Arjuna wasn't, he wanted to go and live by begging. But Krishna told him, no, you have to do your duty. You can't just sit on the sidelines and wait for me to kill everybody. You have to do your duty, because Krishna wanted to use Arjuna to glorify him, actually, because Krishna loves his devotees and he wants them to take all the credit instead of he himself. He could have killed everybody in the battlefield and no problem, but he wanted Arjuna to do it. So if we don't do it, who's going to do it? Krishna will find somebody else to do it. But if we do it, then it's for our purification and for our upliftment. So I think that's the bottom line. We just have to be engaged as Krishna's instrument. I think we're way over time here, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're up to 19, so remember that. So I don't have to write it down. I'll just ask you on Wednesday. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.